Hey guys, welcome to another weekly update. Well, this time you're gonna have to excuse me because I have a hard time to speak, since I think I have the worst cold since a few years. It's something else. Well, in fact, right now in Quebec, where I live, it's a real problem. It's almost getting out of hands because all the hospital are booked up to the rim because of cold and the flu. So I think it's crazy. There's even been a lot of deaths because of this, even in the U.S. and in Europe. Well, with the weather we have, it's incredible, eh? I never saw such weather. We have one day we have minus almost 40, minus 30, and just inside 24 hours we're gonna have plus 4 or minus 10, minus 5. That's crazy. We never saw that. I don't know what's happening, but even in Europe, I don't know if you saw that, but in France they have a lot of problem also. So they have flooding and everything. So I think I don't know what's happening, but there's not only problem with the political around the world. I think there's a problem with weather that is, it's kind of scary because it's like something's gonna happen, something big. I don't know, so let's hope not. Well, first I want to tell you that it's nice, since in 2 days, the 11th, it's gonna be 1 year since I opened my YouTube channel. And I think it's kind of nice. I don't think I grow my channel as much as it could have, but just in 1 year to have, with what I do, painting, and in both language, English and French, I'm up to almost 2,000 subscribers and 380 video, yeah. So I take full throttle on those video, I can tell you that, because it's a lot of work. But you know, I think that's why I could get myself out there, and I'm getting to be more and more seen on YouTube. So I think it's getting great. The exchange and the sharing between people is getting nicer and nicer. So I hope it's going to continue that way, because as you might know, my goal is to get away for the winter. You know why? Get away for the winter and film our vacation. Well, our vacation, our new life, because we're gonna go 6 months every year in the winter. In the US, we're gonna move around, and then when we come back, we're gonna still take some trips here and there to go visit everywhere. So we're gonna bring you with us. Well, at the best, it could be in just about a year, and at the worst, between 2 and 3 years. So I hope for the best, because you know what, I cannot stay here anymore. That's crazy. I wanted to talk to you about something also. You know, there's a lot of people, because in 2011 and 2012 we went, me and my wife Nicole, we went to an island in Florida, Amelia Island. It was the best vacation we ever took. It was 4.5 months. We rented a condo. That was, I'm telling you, that was the best time we had. But you know what? Since then, we couldn't afford to go back 4.5 months. That's for sure. But so it's kind of like being caught between a rock and a hard places, meaning that now that we cannot go back for the winter, it's kind of hard for us. But you know what I did find funny is that people over there, when we talk, of course, they see that I have we have a French. People say, so there's a lot of people who say to us, "Oh, okay, so you're French." No, I'm not French. I'm Canadian. I'm not French. French means that you come from France. It's like I would see an American and I would say, "Oh, okay, so you're English." No, you speak English, but you're an American. You see the difference? And it's kind of annoying for us in Quebec, because we're not French. We're Canadian, but we speak French. And most of us speak the both language. Of course, we have. You can see in our voice that we're French. That's only because we don't practice enough. But you know what? It's like Quebec. It's like we're on an island, in the North American island. We're the only French-speaking people living in North America. So it's kind of great that we kept our language through all this, because we lost our country, which was ours, which we did create Canada, the French. Of course, my grandfather and all my ancestors come from France, so that's for sure. So you can say that I'm a cousin of the French people, like you are. Most of you American, you are a cousin of the Great Britain people. So you know that's strange, because we have the other particularity of Quebecers that most of people don't know, even French people don't even know, is that we're closer than to the northeast American people than we are to the rest of Canada in the west. That's strange, eh? But I'm going to tell you why. It's very simple. Because most of the rest of Canada, people are royalist. We're not. The Queen and the King and whatever you want never did came to Canada, because they don't want to take a chance, because we're anti monarchists or royalists, or however you want to call it. So most of us are. The old people, more of them were royalists, you know. But like my mother, my grandfather, my grandmother, should I say, they were a bit. They liked the Queen, you know. But for us, for myself, I was in the army, and you have to pledge allegiance to the Queen, and that make my hair back of the neck go up. That's a shame, because I don't have nothing against the Queen. You know, I like the Queen, but I don't like to live in a monarchy. I don't like, because I was in the Navy, I don't like to call the boat I was on HMCS, Her Majesty Canadian Ships. I don't like that. What can you say? So there's a lot of difference between us Quebecers and the rest of Canada. Like I said, there is much more difference between those two parts of Canada than there is in Vermont of Plattsburgh. I can go in Plattsburgh and Vermont and be served in French. I can go in some place in Ontario and not even get a hello in French. Can you imagine? So, we have to say that since the 1600s, there's about 1 million Quebecers that went living in the U.S., especially the northeast part of the country. So that's kind of why you see a lot of trembling. You see a lot of name, with a connotation of French. That's the reason. So, that's the biggest reason. And it's kind of hard to keep our language, because, of course, there's more and more immigrant coming to Quebec. And so we're getting, before we were about 8 to 9 million, something like that in Quebec. And it's a big province. It's as big as almost a fourth of the U.S. in size. So it's very big. But it's getting, mixed. In Montreal, which is not our capital, because our capital is Quebec City, in the province of Quebec. But in Montreal, it's where the most immigrants go live. That's okay, I don't have nothing against it. But sometimes the way the youngsters speak and everything, we don't know if we're going to keep our language very long. What can you say? As I adjust myself to be bilingual as much as I can, I would like to keep my French heritage, even if us and the French people, we don't have nothing in common anymore. They don't even speak the same kind of French that we do. So it's kind of strange, you know, because when there's a lot of French coming here to live for good in Quebec, and they have a hard time to adapt because they don't understand the half of it, the half of our language. So that's kind of strange. So guys, I only want to talk about it because, you know, it was strange because I talked to a lot of people when we went down in Florida with my wife. And the first thing we heard is, oh, you're French. No, we're not French. It's important to us to... You know what? There's never been as much people in any country that defended the right and the liberty of the U.S. people as the Quebecers did. When there was a war in the 1800s between Canada and the U.S., it wasn't long, but there was a lot of men joining the army, the American army, to fight the English, because the English, they fought us and we lost. So that's kind of strange. You know why? Because the French government, the king at the time, did help the U.S. Get his independence with his army, but they let us be, because when the English took over Canada, they took over in Quebec, because at that time Canada wasn't big yet, so they took over in Quebec. But at that time, the how do you say, the gold of the French government, which was the king, they didn't have money anymore. They had a war to fight in Russia and everywhere, so they did left us alone. The only good thing about it is that we are the only people that were conquered by the English, by Great Britain, that we were made subject of Her Majesty, or His Majesty. But we had to pledge allegiance. Those who didn't pledge allegiance were took on a boat and went to Louisiana. That's why you have a lot of people speaking French in Louisiana. That's the reason those guys, which I lift my hats up to, they didn't want to pledge allegiance. So good for them. So anyway, guys, that's my take on it. It's not a biggie, but I have to tell you, I have to talked about it, because it's rare that people talk about it, but most of the people don't give a damn. So that's one of the reasons why. But even though I like to make things right in history, and in why people are well, anyway, guys, that's my take on it. So guys, I hope you had a good week. I hope you're gonna have a good weekend, and I hope to see you on the next video. So in the meantime, take care, don't have a cold, it's bad. So see you guys, ciao.